bringing people back through for the final fight in that movie.
Wow. Yeah, so this is a movie that maybe just made it a little bit more palatable. Portal palatable.
Linking everything.
Yeah, the portals converged.
Yeah.
And then it was perfect convergence later on.
There you go.
But
aligning all the movies across the MCU.
And it's pretty... So you know what? I think as far as maybe opening up more worlds to fight in at the same time, smart idea. Kind of transport more around the world, get a little funky. I just wish Hemsworth would have done more than jump and land. His fight moves in this are jump and land.
Yeah, they don't give him a ton of acting to do in this movie.
And
they let the humor be with a lot of other people. Even on the train, my favorite moment on the train, when the train starts and she loses her balance a little and she puts her hand on Thor and she's like, "Oh, sorry." That's her. That's not really him being funny.
Yeah. And then Taika just figured out one day, hey, this guy's good. And now Thor's like, don't get rid of me. This is great. Or Chris Hemsworth, don't get rid of me. This is great. But for me, this fight, you're right. You're right. Opened up a different world for final fights. There were portals. It made the travel a little bit more palatable. We had seen the robots fight before. We had seen the Thor fight before. We had seen the Avengers fight before. But this is kind of a different, fun world that was opened up. But it does seem like an afterthought because, and I'm not complaining, but the whole movie's about the ether. And
yes, it is. Even if you read a description summary of this, every sentence has ether once or twice in it. It's so much ether.
And the thing is...
Or which one? It's the reality stone.
Reality stone.
That we find later on.
Which they give to the collector in the post-credit sting.
Yep.
That wasn't smart.
No.
He did not keep that collected well. His collection was raided.
It was terribly curated.
Yeah, it's just... I have no ill will towards this fight. And that'd be weird to have any ill will towards anything that's in a movie. I just... Because
it happens, though.
It's not what I wanted!
Hey, people feel that way.
It's not So, it's just... You have Eccleston, right? You have Hemsworth, who you know is great. You have Stellan Skarsgård, who's from Deep Blue Sea, by the way.
Excellent.
You have Darcy, Nick and Nora's playlist.
She is so funny. She's truly a gem of the MCU. And I think they almost try to use her a little too much in this. Because there's so many people. And
yeah.
She's so funny. But you can't put her in everything. It's a final fight.
And what kind of stinks is that instead of maybe building her an organic plot line, we love her, so we're going to give her bits.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's bitten.
She's so good, she needs more than that.
There's so many bits during this.
She gets more than that. Watch WandaVision.
Oh, so good. And it's...
Now that I'm thinking about it, though, this is actually really reminding me of the Doctor Strange final fight with... Mads Mikkelsen, as they open up portals and they fold reality and space and they jump from place to place and they're trying to outmaneuver each other. This is a less sophisticated version of that, visually.
But that makes sense, though, because this was first and then everything got to fine-tune after that.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you have... Yeah, so if anything, this fight opened up some new doors.
Some new portals.
Some new portals for new fights. And it's just...
For world building, if you will.
And I guess if we think about the best final fights in the MCU, it's good to kind of separate. Remember Black Panther? You had Killmonger and Black Panther, and not the CGI train bit, but at the end when they're by themselves fighting, that great moment, and then you have the battle taking place. I guess it's good to separate all the people who are fighting. It's just I don't know I guess the portals were necessary to show a new type of travel, which opens up later on.
Yeah.
But I love the Spider-Man Homecoming battle because it's just Vulture and Spider-Man. It's just the two of them.
Yeah, but you were so invested in them by then.
Yeah, it's true. Keaton, he's so good. He took a beating in that.
And Tom Holland, I mean, you just really you just love him in that character. I mean, at least I do. When you get to know him and he's so funny and you feel very invested in him.
It's interesting talking about this final fight when we watched it because I remembered when we watched this movie, did you not remember a lot more... punchy, smashy.
I felt like there probably was. Like, maybe they were holding on to each other's collar and punching and flying, but that must be a different movie.
They did some falling and punching when they were falling from the shard.
That almost that's very
Superman.
Sort of Superman.
Yeah. Yeah, Man of Steel. 2013 had some great falling and punching.
I like how we both came up with Superman right at the same time.
And that's becoming one of our most popular Final Fights episodes.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, Adam Hodgins and I recorded it.
Well, that's a pure winner right there.
Yeah, and I kept him to 20 minutes. We did a cliffhanger Final Fights episode that went 50 minutes. It was... All right, so Meg, give me your 3 favorite moments of this fight before we get out of here.
Okay, let's see. When the girl on the train falls on Thor and apologizes, that's just very organic and cute and funny. I'd say when Jane realizes that they can take the Dark Elves out with their devices, but then she tries it the second time and they grab Darcy and Ian by accident, and they sort of look at each other and they go, oops, her and Selvig.
Get the elf with the sword.
Yeah. And then, I don't know, that's a tough one. What is the third part?
I'll jump in, get a couple so you can think.
Yeah.
I just like her saying Mew Mew. I know you're not a fan of that, but I just like Kat Dennings. And then I guess I like when the one major face punch in this, when Malekith comes back through the portal and just pops Thor in his kisser. So that's my second one. And now, what's your third?
Probably, I don't know. That's a tough one. There's just so much portal popping.
There's so much jumping. Okay.
Oh, I know what it is. So when you see the ether spiraling up towards the portal, it's very elegant looking. And it struck me the sort of design that actually went into that when someone planned that. It wasn't just random graphic design. You could have made it go straight up and not been very pretty. But it was nice and pretty, and it sort of looked like the spire in London as well.
I wrote cool shot with that part. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so my third is when Thor shows up for the fight, and he just does a massive jump, but then he lands on this nice concrete walkway. It's like, why don't you just land on the grass?
They do a lot of damage at that naval college.
Yeah, there's willy-nilly damage. I mean, I guess they're trying to stop the end of all the world.
Wow.
But I just don't know why he jumped on those cobblestones as opposed to some grass.
Yeah, he could have. I mean, my theory for that is that it doesn't really mean a whole lot to him.
Yeah.
He doesn't understand the scope of what we would have to pay to fix that. He's just there to help.
And at the end of the day, I just want to say that Malekith's quote, "Your universe was never meant to be. Your world and your family will be extinguished."
Rude.
He failed.
He did.
Why do you tell people that before a fight?
Villains can't help themselves.
People are like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to go get your family after this." And then the person always rallies. It's like, listen, I'm just going to kill you. Just let me kill you. Your family's fine. I'm not going to do it. I'm going home. I'm going to take a bath. That person's not going to rally. They're like, "Oh, my family's safe?" Yeah, of course, man. I'm not a monster.
Well, it's like what he says just before he dies, too. He says, "You can't kill the ether." And they go, "Well, we can kill you."
But the ether's in him. He has the magic in him. Everything he touches
got the magic
turns to gold. Every time I touch that
track,
that reality stone,
yeah, I
turn into a god.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to destroy your entire family. Your world and your family's going to be extinguished. That's going to give you extra fighting room. Be like, listen, I'm just going to kill you. Your world's safe.
Yeah.
Let's just do this here. The person's not going to have that big Hulk Hogan rally moment. Villains got to stop.
They really should just stop talking.
Yeah.
Just go be villainous. Don't say anything.
No more monologuing.
Mm-hmm. Just
punchy. CGI smack. What did I call him? What did I call him? Smack 'em, pack 'ems?
Slapping smack 'em ups.
CGI smack 'em ups. Oh, all right. Well, thank you for joining me, Megan.
Anytime.
All right. So for me, Mark Hoffmeyer, and for Megan Hoffmeyer, this is Final Fights. Going for a smack and pap 'em. What?
Smack 'em ups.
Smack 'em ups.
Smack 'em up. Smack 'em down.
This is Final Fights. We'll see you next week.